This weekly candle close is not a surprise, but we anticipated that because this is super important. Look at the RSI on a weekly, and not just for Bitcoin, but for XRP as well. XRP just formed a candle which is an inverted hammer. Even on a micro scenario, when you get inverted hammer, you see a bounce off. In history, if you go back in the same asset, when you see inverted hammers, it has always ended up as a local bottom which pushes the price for the next leg. So XRP stands a chance for this kind of a bounce. But here, such a bounce would be a breakout, where your initial target is 0.68. Yes, not sky high, but that can be the start of something as the market anticipates these kind of moves. But certainly, if you are in the SI family, you're not surprised. We've been talking about this possibility as the weekly close was coming towards us. We were looking for some kind of volatility. And it turns out that it did happen. So what you're watching in front of you is the thought process we laid a day, 2, 3 back. And right now the price action in the market shows you that's a reality. So the things which you watch should not be missed. One of the thought processes on the Ether, the ERC20 and the altcoin market. That's important for us. This was the argument and this is the reality right now. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, what's in front of you is the market sentiment, the thought process on the Ether, the thought process on ERC20. It's all turning positive. Then the question is, why is the price going down? The weekly close shows you the price is down. No doubt. No doubt. Did you expect something else? The thought process here is clear. When you zoom in, yes, it's going to be a micro level. Yes, it's going to be a short-term level. But if you're here for the reality rather than just the hype in the market, you're watching this. You should be disciplined. There is no other way. This previous level of support is now a resistance. This is Ether on a 12-hour chart. Here we are looking at the volatility. So you have a resistance around 3658. You have a support around 3370, which means after that, your next level of support is somewhere close to 3250. Until the price action breaks to the upside here, about 3666 or below 3370, you're still range bound. If it breaks higher, cool, great, that's perfect. We want that. But usually the market doesn't give you what you want, because what you just saw is a 12-hour chart. The moment you zoom out a little bit and you enter on the daily chart, it becomes a little bit more interesting, because the support zone above which the candles closed for last few days from 11th July to 23rd, this is what you're watching. We broke to the downside and had a candle close. The next one is here, as we talked about. Fine. But then you jump on a Bitcoin, because Bitcoin deals with this market. Bitcoin shakes this market. Are we looking at something different? No, we're not. What are you watching in front of you? The market, the Bitcoin, showing you this price action, which means a double top possibility is in front of you, right? Right? But remember this chart. It's a bit back, right? When the price was still at the top, I told watch there is a possibility like this. Don't misunderstand this market. And right now you're watching the exact same thing. At that time, price was close to 70,000, say 69, 300, 400 something. Right now you're watching that the exact same thing played out. But what's wrong? It took more time than I anticipated. I thought a week, but instead it's now what? 13 days, 12 days, 13 days. That's a bit too much. No, that's what the market does. What can we do? Nothing. But understanding the fact that this was a possibility and this had higher odds, that's something you need to keep in mind. And that's exactly what the SI family gets at the right time for the right assets and the entire crypto market. So if you would like to join me, use this link in the description below in YouTube or in the bio of Twitter. Now, before we continue, if you haven't smashed that like button, please do me a favor. Pop that. Now, if you take that argument on Bitcoin and then focus a little bit more on the macro side, here, this should be important. The first thing you would notice is that the trend line is way far. The moving average is where you're tilting around. You're kind of shaking with that moving average, flirting with that level. Then the question becomes, is the support zone somewhere near? Can we make the moving average as a support? Can we bounce off from the moving average? So this particular week is most likely going to be very, very, very interesting level. It's going to be certainly an attractive week to look for. One of the primary reasons is that look at the RSI in front of you. The first primary touch in June 2022, then November 2022, then August 2023, right now, May 2024. So what's the highest possible outcome? Or if you take the probability, which side would it lean towards? I would argue unless that break to the downside, history rhymes, history repeats. If that's a trend line support for the last 2 years, that should be a support right now. If it breaks, yeah, it changes. It's starting a new trend to the downside. However, you cannot say that right now. The only argument you can say is the odds tilt towards the upside. You're making different things in the price action which should not be neglected. The price is showing you negative divergence. That's clean, and that's what we wanted. We've been waiting for that for a long period of time. Now we have that. And at that time, you're watching XRP is making a bullish weekly candle. And that doesn't happen every now and then because we've seen this inverted hammer retest in a bounce. Not $200, but for sure, a little bit of relief from 0.46 to 0.73 was a relief, for sure. If you look at these kind of candles, it forms every now and then close to a local bottom in XRP. So anticipate such a move. If it breaks to the upside there, it is a significant breakout. Yes, it's a micro level when you zoom in on that structure. This is XRP on a weekly, right? So you zoom a little bit out and then ask yourself, if I'm plotting this on a weekly chart, what can I see? Let me be super conservative, taking the wicks. If I'm super optimistic, I'm following just the candle close. Say, let's put that in a line chart. Let's try to make it a little bit more perfect. This is how it looks like. You broke higher, you never came below that range, you're respecting that range, you're trying to go back up. Yes, on a candlestick chart, this would look a little bit complex. However, if you put that onto a line chart, this is where you are. The previous resistance range is now acting as a support, which is fine. You need a weekly bounce. So getting such a candle at that level is very important. Because if not, you would have push it lower to 0.42 to test the next level of support. Now, yes, Bitcoin is important. That guy shakes a little bit more instead of 61,500. If it goes to 60, if it goes to 59, alts will bleed. But then, yeah, we know that's the local bottom there. Most likely it's going to 90,000. Most likely it's going to 85, 90, 100. Wherever it's going, we'll watch. We'll follow through just like we've been doing, right? And this scenario in the ether is something we should keep in our mind. But not just the daily, but also the weekly. Because when you understand the weekly close came in, it's now 4 weeks completed. And still you're at the 50% mark of the first candle. This huge breakout, it took 4 weeks to come back down to 50% of that. That's bullish. Whether we agree or not, that's the reality. That's the proper understanding. Now, yes, when I talk about these on the reality side, not everyone likes that, especially in the XRP community. Some understand the fact that this is the reality. I should align my anticipation, my thought process, my reward structure based on that. Some say this guy's not good. Let me go to someone who can hype things up. Fine, it's your choice. But the way we should understand the market is if the market is showing you a negative sign, you should try to look through that. To get proper understanding, yeah, obviously you'll have to put a line chart which kind of gives you this, where you should argue the price may need to come down to 0.43 to touch this trend line. Now, this is the cleanest chart which you can get, a line chart. You only have the daily closes, and that argues this should come down. Yes, there is a trend line formation. Yes, you're watching something like this, which usually end up positive. You kind of see a bounce off, which have shown us that it usually end up with a higher momentum side. But now consider the total altcoin market, or for the ease, you just take the Bitcoin dominance. The Bitcoin dominance here is still very choppy. To understand the price action, you put in the candles and you're like, okay, we're trying to push higher, but for some reason, it's not breaking to the upside. Rather, it's getting rejected. Now remove everything. Look at this. What do you see? A big candle to the downside and few candles to retest that exact same range. And while it is testing that range, you're watching it forming hammers. And hammers at the top is known for what? Local top formation, which then pushes the price lower. We have seen similar things, right? So the price action shows you the possibility of the dominance dropping. But for that, Bitcoin needs to come down towards 61,500 at least, and then do a small bounce while the altcoins take off. So if you have patience and you're riding this altcoin wave, you're like frustrated, whoa, the altcoins are bleeding. Yes, that's true, that's honest. But that doesn't mean that's the end. The bigger picture is just about to start. Or the best part of the bigger picture is just about to start. So guys, if you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do that for me. And if you'd like to join the SI family to get all of these updates at the right time, use the link in the description below. So guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.